Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Universe. We are live for the first time in seems like ages. Been a lot of recorded shows during the off season. This one is from our AMA over on Reddit of r/fantasy football. I don't know what any of that means. I am not the Reddit guy. I just answered some of the questions. But so this was posted. It was up all week. We concluded it yesterday. Most of these questions have been answered for those of you who already asked, but we thought we'd go a little more in depth with our answers here. So I am Aaron St Denis. You can follow me everywhere at FF Mad Scientist, joined by one of those ways, that way, Jeremy Shulman at FF_Rebel. I guess we can get into our first Reddit AMA question. It is wide open question for you guys. What would you like to see? What would you like to see change, improve in the fantasy football industry over the next 5 years? We went both completely different ways. I seen your answer. Was this what did you answer AI on this one?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so mine was a lot more simple. I meant in terms of like behavior overall. I didn't even think you went way in depth, and I just said I want people in fantasy to start acting like human beings. Like I don't know how many times I've seen it. It's even worse now that you're an expert or an analyst.
Yeah.
Did people not learn just if nobody their moms didn't tell them if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all? I don't know how many times I've gone online on Twitter and I've been like, oh, that guy's a fucking idiot. But you know what I do? I just scroll. I don't need to comment and shit on someone's hard work. But I don't know how many times, even in leagues, it's just like, I'll see a trade come up and I'll see nonstop in the chat. You're a fucking idiot. Why would you do that? It's like, just behave. It's a game, man. Behave like don't behave like animals.
Yeah. No.
Oh, there's SC's answer. More people playing campus to Canton and IDP leagues. I agree on the IDP leagues, campus to Canton. I won SC's college football pool last year, but I'm still kind of getting the hang of the Devi C2C. I'm not nearly as good as at the rookies as SC, but so I think your answer is definitely the more entertaining of the two. So why don't we get into it? What was your answer?
Well, yeah, I've been talking about this a lot recently with a couple of friends who are just into AI. And I know we've been experimenting with AI. It's really interesting what, it can do in terms of, we know what it can do in terms of ChatGPT with the writing aspect, but what it can do with images, we've experimented a lot with that in our graphics over the off season. And then now what it can do with just automating things in industry. And one of those industries is fantasy football. There's a lot of things that currently we need to do as, for example, commissioners or managers that can be automated to AI. We see the beginnings of this in if you belong to a Fantasy Pros or a Dynasty Nerds, you have the ability to they can recommend a start sit option. Do you want us to switch this player into your lineup? And you can push a button and they can do that. That's already exists. So the fact that whatever platform you're playing on can take that to the next level, completely automate not your decisions, but come up with different options for you to choose, automate things that commissioners have to do regularly, pass through trades or put out a vote and recommend things that you should do to better your league. I think where people were taking this idea of AI that I presented was, we don't want to fully automate it. It's going to take the fun out of the fantasy football. No, there's some things that we do in this game that we love that are annoying to do, scour the waiver wire or determine the best fab bid given the remaining weeks left in the fantasy season and things like that. And I think AI can be helpful as a tool to help us to help grow the game. And then, you look at things like Underdog and how popular Underdog became in the last 5 years, totally shot up crazy because best ball largely is an automated game after the draft, which we all love to do. So I just think there's lots of different applications for AI. I don't think we've fully fleshed them out yet, but the idea is not to make the game necessarily easier or less strategic. It's to make things like Jesse popping up in the chat and adjusting his camera and totally, it's to make all of that easier and more streamlined.
You know what? And this one doesn't really apply to football because the lineup's a lot shorter, but I do fantasy hockey and baseball on Yahoo, and they have a thing where I can go because it's 7 days a week, and you can go in and just click start active players because not everyone plays every day. It's not like football. I can just hit start active players, and it sets my lineup, and it's so easy, and I love it. So I guess that's kind of what you're talking about. 1 second. So SC says 101 in 2025 might be Luther Burden or Judkins. Some are high on viewers, but third overall pick. Oh, SC talking Devi in here. That's why it got me. Okay, there is one question in the chat we'll get to. He won his league last year and then added Lamar for the offseason. They have him ranked as the number 1 overall starters. Team's aging. Would you trade Lamar for Dak in a 2025 first and second? Will likely be the 101. Oh, that's what it was.
Yes.
SC was piggybacking on what the 101 was. So I don't necessarily hate this. I get it. Dak's the older quarterback. I think they have similar upside. Maybe Dak's a little lower. But for me, I don't see Lamar as your typical, quarterback like Mahomes. I think Mahomes has a much longer shelf life than Lamar because I think once he gets to 30, the rushing starts to decline. He's much less valuable. So for me, I think I can take the slight downgrade from what I think I have Lamar at QB5 to Dak at QB9, and then I add in a first and a second, which could be what SC said in Burden or Judkins. Yeah, I think I do this one. How about you guys?
SC didn't even mention my top guy coming out. It's Ted McMillan out of Arizona. He's a fantastic, he's basically Mike Evans 2.0 coming out, and he's a stud. So you could get one of those high-end wide receivers, or you get a quarterback. I mean, we talked about Judkins, and all these guys. The early portion of 25 looks really good. So if you can get yourself the 101, get similar production because Dak was very similar to Lamar last year. I'm looking at my rankings right now. I'm like, I don't see much of a difference between them this year. I think I have Lamar 4 and Dak 6. And Dak's situation, you set it for the next few years. So I think this is an easy way to continue your dynasty where you get a potential high-profile 101 next year on top of it and still get Dak. So, yeah, I love making insulated deals like this personally.
Yeah, and we talked about
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and we talked about the fact that last year in Lamar's second MVP season, he threw 24 touchdowns. That was his third highest passing touchdowns of his career. If you're talking about a 6-point per passing touchdown, Lamar is going to lose a little bit of value. And then Dak is right there. So I love this deal too, and I'll take Dak on the picks.
SC says to try and get a first in 2026. Unless I can turn the 25 second into a 2026 first, there's no way. I'd rather have I know they're going to say maybe the 2026 class is better, but we do this every year. We want to I'm not pushing it that far down the road. Fuck it. Give me the 2025 class. I'll wait till if I don't like the class, I'll wait till they're the greatest class ever. Then I'll sell high because we do this. It's in cycles. They're the greatest class ever. Then we get here and then they suck. And then it rebounds and then they're good again. But then we're overvaluing them and then they suck again. So fuck it. I'm not going that far out.
Even the 22 class, it was chock full of high-profile players outside of quarterback. So even if the QBs don't work out, you're still, if it's an early pick, which it seems like it's going to be, you're going to get a very good player there no matter what. Who's going to be a top 24 pick as soon as they enter the league next year, Dynasty. So, I like doing this one.
Oh, he already has Hurts. Did he say Superflex here?
I'm assuming it's Superflex.
It's got to be. Otherwise, he
you're not dependent on QB. And so, with 10 team, I'm not as worried about quarterback. I'm more willing to push it.
Yeah. I think I'm making this deal here.
And it's not a bad roster. I'd maybe consolidate a little bit with that roster, but overall, that's definitely a contender for sure. You can see that.
All right. What are some good roster construction and game theory strategies that more people should be taking into account, both dynasty and redraft leagues? Where are many managers missing the boat?
Yeah, that was actually a fun question because it's interesting when you look at it from redraft compared to dynasty. A lot of people don't take this into account. And I brought this up in the response where I mentioned best ball and how roster construction is so important and how if you don't have a certain amount of wide receivers, you're immediately cooked. But if you went into that strategy in redraft and you had 6 bench wide receivers, people would say you're in the loony bin. Like, what are you doing? So my first thought process is know your league, know the settings and scoring because that impacts everything no matter what you do. So if it's a start 10, start 10 with a premium on tight ends, maybe pass catching running backs, you're going to boost those guys up. You're going to consumption that way. Or if it's a deeper league where it's more quarterback 6-point passing touchdown, you kind of shift your strategy. So know your league scoring strategy. But basically what I told them is I use a WAR or warp tool every league I go in. I just put in my numbers. So I put in the amount of teams, the scoring, and it boosts out the most like high profile players that get boosted in the league. So you can kind of construct your roster that way. And if it favors running backs, just hammer running back late in that draft, right? Like so make that work, because I think a lot of people in redraft necessarily don't focus on that because it's all too similar.
I hate in redraft and dynasty, like outside best ball, I hate having that many wide receivers because I'm instinctively going to end up picking the wrong one to start every week. But I give a similar answer to this, or to you for this one. I took the question now. Mine was like, for me, okay, a lot of the leagues we've done, the free ones, I just kind of click. I don't really put much prep into it. But for the leagues I care about, the high money leagues, the family leagues that mean the most to me, I have a separate spreadsheet for all of them, and they start with my whatever the stats are. I put my projections in for all of those stats. Then I factor in the multiplier for what the league scoring is, and then so that sorts how the value is for me, like who's projected to score the most. But you don't draft that way because otherwise it'd be all quarterbacks. So then from there, I do what you do. And so the easiest way, I use VORP, value over replacement, but I came from baseball. So from there, it's the easiest way to describe it would be to calculate your VORP. I do it on a spreadsheet. So you take whoever the QB1, right? Patrick Mahomes is 300 points is what he's projected to score. For me, then I go down to if your league is a single QB and it only starts 12, you take the mean, which would be the average score of a replacement. So you take whatever QB 13 is projected at, and then I subtract that from each player. So that's why you'll get some players are, it won't just be Patrick Mahomes is worth 300. He could be worth 160 because that's what he's projected to outscore the guy. Meanwhile, QB 20's got a minus warp. So that's how I rank mine. And then from there, that I rearrange the sheet, sorting by the WAR or VORP or whatever you want to call it. And I program like that. So that would be my ADP or my rankings. But then I add in the site-specific rankings because I think one of you pointed this out with Deontay on Sleeper, how fucking buried Deontay Johnson is. But so I program in the site-specific rankings for whatever site I'm on for that draft. And then I create a third column comparing the difference between, I have Deontay Johnson ranked 40th, but he's 70th on Sleeper. So that'll give me a plus minus. And I know, these are guys here that I have lower or higher, and I can get them later. And then I build from there. But essentially, like I said, I think I even said in the comment, I go with the value early. I just take whatever value falls to me. And based on how it falls, because I'd love to go in and say, I'm starting this super flex draft with quarterback, or I'm starting with wide receiver. But I find every draft they do, it's a little different because people do different shit. Sometimes you fucking crazy bastards load up on picks. So I let the first few rounds dictate the strategy. And from there, I then I implement from there like a game plan, and I just go with it. Because I find the worst thing you can do is to force yourself into a strategy, going in saying, I'm leaving, like my first Scott Fishbowl, I'm leaving the first 3 rounds with 2 quarterbacks. I don't even remember who it was, but I forced him, and I'm like, I hate this fucking roster. So,
well, yeah, you can also use websites like Dynasty Daddy is my personal favorite. You can just type in the league, it'll spit out the WAR and the warp for you. Like it'll give you that information, and then it'll sort like league breaker, elite status, and you kind of see how these players are grouped, and you have an idea of how running backs compared to wide receivers, compared to tight ends, QB. So, like, if you don't want to do it yourself, there are websites that will put this information in for you. That will make it super easy to do.
Yeah. Listen, warp, nerd. That's all nerd shit, guys. Listen, here's what you got to do. And here's what I always try to do. Number one, exactly what Aaron's saying. You got to see how the first few rounds of the draft play out, because you never know who you're going to be able to get in terms of the value that falls to you and what other teams are doing. So a couple of years ago, I was looking at 0 RB. That for me was a really comfortable draft, especially in the back end of drafts for startups, especially, but also in redraft, only because the value that was, people were like, I need running backs. This happens every year. And so the wide receiver value fell. So I ate it up. Last year in startups, what I did, especially in tight end premium leads, is I was going bully tight end. So I end up this year, I have a couple of rosters with Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, and like a Laporta or McBride. All right. And it worked out that way. But if you can find where the value falls and load up, you'll have the ability to work it out. This year, I'm still trying to figure out where the value is, but what I'm seeing early on, especially in the 2 startups that we both did together, I'm seeing early QB. So I'm going QB in rounds 1 and 2. I did that 2 startups in a row. That just seems to be good value because everyone right now is saying, oh, QBs are deeper than ever. You don't have to worry about it. You can wait on it. So you kind of have to zag when everyone else is zigging, figure out where that value is for you and what you're comfortable doing. But just keep in mind that your roster is going to have a deficiency. So it's whatever you're comfortable with having, wherever you're comfortable having that deficiency. So if it's at quarterback, you feel like you can find value later, great. You can wait on that quarterback like a lot of people are recommending. If it's at tight end, which is a big one because tight end is deep, but at the same time, tight ends are going a lot earlier this year, especially those young guys than they have in previous years. If it's at running back, like many of us are kind of comfortable having that deficiency, at least in year 1 in a startup, then wait on running back. But you're going to have a hole. It's, whatever you're comfortable with, wherever you're comfortable with having that hole, and you can fill that hole later, and we'll clip that one.
But I think the most important thing you said there was just to be like water early on, because I don't know how many times, especially in like a family or work league, everyone says, oh, quarterbacks or tight ends. Tight end is so deep this year. I'm just going to wait and punt tight end, blah, blah, blah. So everyone reads the same article saying how you can punt and get a great tight end late. And next thing you know, the tight end that should have gone at the end of the first is going in the 4th round. And you're like, well, fuck it. I'll just take the best one now. So,
That's the thing. You're drafting with humans. People are going to reach for their players. So, like, you might go into a draft in the 4th round expecting, like, Kelsey or Andrews, one of those guys, to be there. What if they're gone and you're like, shit, I got to pivot and I can't pivot? So, you kind of, like we're talking about, you have to be open to it because it'll change, man. Like, I do it every year in redraft. I'm like, I like this guy. Then he goes 2 rounds ahead of me, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other one. Someone commented that, oh, well, you can't, I used Deontay as the example. They said, oh, well, you can't expect a certain player to fall. And I didn't. I was using my little formula there to find out which position is typically a better value late. Sure. Okay. I say Deontay Johnson, I have in 4th round. He's being valued in the 9th round by ADP. Yeah, there's always some idiot who could overdraft him. That's why I'm not waiting specifically on a player, but I'm looking and going, and I think the guys I said were Burks, J-Mo, Quentin Johnston, Deontay. I'm going, in this group, some of these guys that I'd like to take a shot on typically fall, so I'm willing to just wait and see how it goes. Hey there, how's it going?
What up?
Okay, so the next question, we kind of defaulted to Jesse a bit because it's a Seahawks question. I had 2 for me. This year, I said it's Geno, Walker, DK. Next year, I said it was Howell, Walker, JSN. But I'm the Howell maniac. You guys aren't. But I think the easy answer is it's Walker either way.
Yeah, you gotta take it in context. Aaron fucking loves Howell, so just know Howell's his guy. So, and my response to the person in the question was like, as long as Geno's on the roster, he's going to be their starting quarterback. Like, Howell's not taking the job from Geno. He's just a far superior talent in what he does, and he's just the floor.
You say that shit again, I'm muting you.
That's fine. Mute me, baby. Let's go. No, so like I think the clear answers are DK. And if you want another wide receiver, it's JSN. And I think JSN is going to take a step forward over Lockett. So that was a kind of like hot takey one. But like you can get JSN so late. He's like 100 pick. Like it's not really a big deal where you get him. And the interesting thing with Walker is I'm kind of like go back and forth on him and Charbonnet because I don't necessarily know how it's going to work. I just think he's a superior running back. And if you look at all his metrics, they all support this. He's a more explosive. He's a better rusher. He gets a better rusher.
Who is Walker?
Yeah, Walker. Like more yards after contact, all of missed tackles force, a breakaway run rate. Like he exceeds Charbonnet. But the difference is Charbonnet is a better pass protector and third down back. So he's going to chip into that role. It's just I'm not that interested in the running backs in the Seahawks, honestly. I think Walker's fine choice. I think I have him as RB13 this year. Like I think he's solid. I just don't see the ceiling for him. But yeah, it's Geno, it's DK, and JSN are the big 3 that I want to for Dynasty. Those are the guys, and redraft. Like those are the 3 guys I want on this team.
Yeah. And for me, it's JSN. Like he's not going to be the one. I think DK is probably the one for a couple of years, assuming he sticks around. But we know Lockett's at the tail end of his career. He's going to command targets. So JSN probably isn't going to explode this year. That's okay. I think, he did enough with his ridiculously limited role last year. I recently wrote something up in an article and did a little research on him. I think only 4 times last year he exceeded 70% of snaps. In those games, he was pretty good, but even in games he didn't exceed 70% of snaps, he was still able to command, double-digit targets a couple times. So this is a wide receiver who is as talented as we knew he was. It was just a really weird usage. Jesse, help me. Shane Waldron, offensive coordinator, is out. I keep calling him Ben. Ryan Grubb is in from Washington. All right. I think Ben Grubb is Fantastic Four?
I did that. Yeah, I did that in the comments of the post. I put Ben Grubb and I go, wait a second.
Hang on. But to finish this point, there's no tight end that I'm worried about in Seattle. Kenneth Walker has in 2 seasons had 35 and 37 targets respectively. So I'm not worried about the running backs taking charge in the passing game. So after DK Metcalf, I want JSN. I'm going to reach on him. He's wide receiver 43 by consensus on Fantasy Pros right now. I think that's wildly undervalued.
Yeah,
SC, you're the Debbie guy. While we talk about this, can you type in a response to this question?
Oh yeah, there's some good names like the.
Sorry. Go ahead, Jesse. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say. So like the interesting thing, and I'll talk about this for a second. With Waldron going to Chicago, is how that impacts Keenan Allen. Because freaking JSN had a target depth of 6.1. It was like 95th among wide receivers. It was dog shit. That's kind of my interesting issue with Keenan Allen with the Bears. But that's a whole other tangent. What's going with Grubb is he's gonna have JSN play the McMillan role, and we saw McMillan do a lot of good things in that Washington offense. Not everything is translatable because some of that stuff is college. You can't do that in the NFL. But what his overall role is doing is he could stretch down the field a little bit more, be kind of a vertical in the middle of the player, and just basically do a lot of choice routes and work open because that's how he was super successful at Ohio State. So I expect that to translate over and be probably a top 30-ish wide receiver, like in worst case. I think it's going to be what Lockett and DK were for Seattle for a long time, where they're both top 20 wide receivers like year in, year out for the Seahawks.
Yeah. And just one other thing to add about the Seahawks, their defense is horrible. Jerome Baker is out for the foreseeable future now, who's their starting middle linebacker, right? They're just having all sorts of issues there in Seattle. I think they're going to have to throw a ton. So invest in this offense in Seattle.
Yeah,
that's teamwork. We got you guys answering the actual questions, and then we've got SC answering the live Debbie question. Good job, SC. Good job, guys. Keep up the good work. All right, this is funny. The next question was favorite breakout candidate. You guys both, I think, went with rookies. I took the opposite route. I went with a handful of second-year receivers that I'm not out on, but the general consensus is out on. And I mentioned them earlier: Jamison Williams in Detroit, Quentin Johnston in LA. Who was the third one? I can't remember.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The 3 second-year receiver. Oh, Treylon Burks.
Oh, yeah.
That's another one. There's a lot of hype coming out of camp. I know it's hype season, but those are the 3 I'm targeting. They're damn cheap. And how many times, if you're going to see a second-year breakout, it often comes second, third year out of a wide receiver. So those were my guys. I know you guys, I think, both went with rookie running backs, but
you're damn right.
No, sir. Rookie running backs. Get out of here. No, my guys were Drake London. He's chalky, but it makes a ton of sense. You could also replace that answer with Kyle Pitts. I think they're both going to fly to the moon. Doesn't matter if it's Kirk Cousins or if he goes down. It's what's his name? Your guy from Washington. Why can't I think of his name?
Penix.
Michael Penix. Either way, in Atlanta, their situation is much improved, and Zach Robinson is over there. So they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. Those guys are going to benefit. But the other guy who I think is sneaky is Rashid Shaheed. I don't love the New Orleans offense, but there's literally no one there behind Chris Olave. They're going to have to move the ball. The Saints defense is old. They're on the decline. I think, what's his name? Dennis, whoever the coach is over there. This is his last season. It's got to be Dennis Allen. This has got to be his last season. I mean, apparently Taysom Hill is going to be on the field for 100% of snaps. Like this is stupid business. Rashid Shaheed should have a wide receiver 3, potentially wide receiver 4 season. He'll be on that borderline, I think, if Derek Carr can be functional. They spent their first round draft pick on a left tackle, Fuaga, who's an absolute monster. He should have a little bit more time to get the ball down the field to his 2 receivers. And there's literally no one else there aside from Kamara who's going to be commanding a ton of targets.
I wanted to go back quickly to the draft strategy. Only as something's unfolding in a league beside me. You want bad draft strategy? Someone at the 2-3 turn in Superflex just drafted Kirk Cousins and Drake London, and the rationale was, I got to get me that stack.
Hell yeah, baby. Let's go. Stack a ton.
That's where London is going. That's where London should go. Kirk Cousins.
That's not where Kirk Cousins is
Well,
going.
I don't.
Close.
In Superflex redraft, like, wait, is this dynasty or redraft?
Redraft.
Oh yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Like your Cousins
early.
is really
That's
cheap
early.
this year. Yeah, it's early, but like they're probably on the turn, so they're not going to get him back.
Yeah,
I get it. I understand the rational mind. I don't support it. Yeah, like if you want a guy that in the Packers room, pick your fucking guy. There's like 8 Packers wide receivers you could take. Like if you like Dontavian Wicks, I'm not going to hate him. For me, it was Jonathan Brooks and Rome Odunze. Those are the 2 guys. Like I just think Rome Odunze is a better talent than Keenan Allen at this point in his career. Like where Keenan Allen is at, and as far as what they could do, like my whole thought process on this with Odunze is he's going to be playing on the field 2 wide receiver sets. Like that's what he's going to do. And what this is going to cause is I think Keenan Allen's going to suffer. Like I think it's going to be like convoluted where they're all going. I think Keenan Allen's a little bit overvalued. I think Rome Odunze is a little bit undervalued because of what Keenan Allen did last year, because he was in a wide receiver room with ghosts and guys that were out of position doing nothing. So he was forced to be everything in that offense. Now he's playing with Chicago. He's playing with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, and that's 2 better wide receivers than he's played with it in years. Like I know people like Mike Williams, but like Mike Williams is not as good as these guys. So interestingly enough, I think Rome Odunze is the cheapest of those 3 guys in Chicago. So he's the guy I want because he's going to be on the field. And then I'll flip it because we talked about him and Shane Waldron. Like I worry about what Keenan Allen's going to do in the Shane Waldron offense. Like I don't know how that's going to translate, how that's going to go. So I'm just a little bit bullish on him. And then I go to Jonathan Brooks, my running back. He's the RB1. If he did not have the ACL injury, he would be a round 2 pick in redraft. Like he's getting all of the work. He's a multi-talented player. His stats were very similar to Bijan last year. Like he was almost the exact same player of my metrics and everything like that. And he's going to a team that revamped their offensive line, new starting center. They pay like $150 million for these 2 guards they have in the offensive line. So they're building the offensive line because Dave Canales has talked about this relentlessly. He wants to pound the rock, and he's going to give Jonathan Brooks all the work he can handle. So I expect the second half of the year, Jonathan Brooks is going to be like an RB1 down the stretch.
Yeah, that's a chalky one.
I like this one, Tyjae Spears. If you want poor man's Tyjae Spears, I like Chase Brown or Zach Moss. Both are cheap, and one of them is going to be the Cincy starter.
Hayden Winks said that Zach Moss is a stud out of shotgun, and the Bengals run like the most shotgun looks in the NFL. So I think that's why Zach Moss is the guy I want in that offense, because they're going to run out of shotgun a lot with Zach Moss.
Yeah. And Chase Brown, at least last year, couldn't pass block. He only had something like 17 targets. So this idea that because he's smaller, Chase Brown is going to be the 3rd down back, that's not true. It's going to be Zach Moss.
Yeah.
This next question, I think we all agreed on. It was kind of confusing. So in the end, I listed some mid-tier running back targets that I liked, which I've already stated, or wide receiver targets, which I've already stated. And then I went over basically my auction strategy for him. I love to have, especially in these like just your normal leagues, the home leagues, I love to have one early receiver. And then after that, I'm basically waiting. Like I was talking about, I had one guy in a home league auction. I think it was last year. Budget was $300. He spent 168 of it on 2 quarterbacks in the Superflex and filled the rest of his roster out with $1 players. I didn't like it at all in that. Like I'm not saying take it to that extreme, but like I'll have one $50, $50 Tyreek Hill or whatever player falls to a value. And that's what I have. For me, the biggest thing with my auction thing is my chart. I do not stray from what I have there. If their value says 56, I'm not going $1 over it. And then once everyone's pissed away all their money, I'm going to get all the guys that are probably $13 receivers and running backs. I'll get them for $2. Like Deontay Johnson, he's one where he should probably be worth 12 or 13. You're going to be able to get him for $1 because he's buried so far. And the other one I said was I love to nominate players that I don't want.
All the time.
My favorite one is, especially in the leagues that contain defense or kicker, I will nominate my first defense or kicker. Because if someone outbids me, congratulations, you're a moron and you paid more than $1 for a defense or a kicker. If you don't outbid me, great, I got the kicker number 1 for $1. So it's literally a win-win for me. And I just keep doing it until everyone's out of money.
Yeah, with running back prices are absurd in auction. They're always boosted up. Like you will not find cheap running backs that's a starter at all. The cheapest one you'll find is things like $8, and that's like the last starting running back you'll find. I think for me is like Spears, it was Kincaid, it was Kyler Murray, all these guys that I like, Jaden Daniels. You can get Ladd McConkey and Rome Odunze for like $1. Like those type of rookies who are unsure of and they're going to see targets. Like I love waiting till the end and just picking your guys that you like because no one's going to have money. So if you have money saved, that's what Aaron's talking about. You just get those guys.
Can I add one thing to what you said there? If I get Ladd McConkey for $1, I'm asking for change. I'm just saying. I want change.
Take it for free, then, baby. $0 bid. Yeah, there's just a lot of like in that price range of like $14 to $8. There's a lot of those in between guys who are starting. Like I saw like Jaden Daniels was going for like $2, and I'm like, dude, you're getting a locked in top 12 starting quarterback for pocket change, like we talk about. So yeah, if you don't want Kyler, you can go even cheaper and get the guy that people are still unsure of for some reason.
Meanwhile, someone's paid 55% of their budget for Josh Allen. It's like, okay, well, I got poor man's Josh Allen here. Like, I got him for 2 instead of 60. So, fuck, okay, that's good. I'll take it.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about auction value.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Jeremy, or no?
No. Nailed it, guys. Nailed it.
With Superflex becoming the standard in Dynasty, do you see it becoming for redraft? And I think we all agreed on this. I don't, just simply because most of my home and work leagues are just your boring redraft. 1 QB, 2, a tight end, a DST, a kicker. They're boring stuff because the home leagues, I never realized this, how big of degenerate we are. Home family leagues, work leagues aren't like that. I had one where I've started up a dynasty league with family or friends, and it's dead all fucking summer because they're like, well, it's the off season. Well, yeah, and that's precisely why you can't get these leagues into dynasty and you can't get them into Superflex. And they say, well, but that's not like, most of the leagues are Superflex. No. You're watching a podcast in the end of May here. It means you're a degenerate like the rest of us. That means your leagues are Superflex because you're likely playing on a different level. The general public, your friends who are just watching football on Sunday, they're not the hardcore diehards. Like, they're not the degenerates, and they're just playing basic formats.
Aaron, how did you not realize that we were degenerates? We started a podcast. We have 300 videos up on YouTube since January. We basically do this stuff daily. We've already participated in a couple of startups. We are not the norm in terms of the fantasy community, but you're absolutely right. I started a home league with, a group of redraft guys. We started a home dynasty league. Those guys check out from January to June, even July, some of them, and you can't blame them. But I think the average fantasy football player wants to come in, get a little bit of their strategy and see what happened in the offseason, get out and then draft. They want to refine their process over a couple of years. So if they're doing that, they certainly don't want to see all of these different strategy changes. That's going to cause them to completely rethink their tried and true go-to methods. So it's really hard to kind of implement change in those home leagues. Those guys want to do what those guys want to do, and it's hard to blame them. They actually have jobs and lives, and here we are talking fantasy. So.
We talked about this earlier, though, in the chat, and it's funny. One of these videos, a video or an article that will get 20 views now, will in August all of a sudden get 1,000 views because people don't want to be on reading the strategies now. All the casuals who show up, they come back later and they Googled it. They don't care if you wrote it a week ago or 6 months ago. All they see is it's for this season. But I never realized how much of a degenerate we were until I was talking to a friend the other day saying, oh, no, I'm much better this year. I'm going way easier on leagues. Look, I'm barely in any leagues. And I scrolled through Sleeper and I'm like,
You're like, I only got 50 now. No big deal.
Like, I was like, I'm still in 29 or something. He's like, you're in 29 leagues. He's like, I can't do more. Someone messaged me. I invited him to our dynasty league when we needed to replace someone. And he said, I'm already in 2 leagues. I don't think I can handle a third. I'm like, I was in 71 last year, you lazy bastard.
Yeah, we got to remember, like, where we were at a long time ago. It's like a different case scenario where I remember the first time I did more than 4 leagues. I thought I was going off the loony bin. I was like, this is nuts. But yeah, my home dynasty league is my favorite league because it took myself and 2 other people years and years of prepping and needling people to move on to a new format. We went to Keeper in 2012, so we had that for 8 years. And then finally in 2020, we broke through into Dynasty. I was like, let's just fucking do it. So it took us so long, but I had to really and this is the league that we all care about the most. It's a lot of degenerates similar to myself, where I have a few other guys that have transitioned into Dynasty with me where they love it now and they're hooked. And I'm like, yeah, dude, once you get a taste, you just want more and more and more. So that's how it goes. But yeah, it's a lot hard with these redraft that turning into Dynasty leagues. It's just hard. We just changed it to go to Superflex for 2 years from now, but we gave the window because you have to, because it's almost impossible to transition any Dynasty league from that, from 1 QB to Superflex. It's basically unheard of.
You know what the worst was? So I started my first league when I started doing football was my work redraft league. And after a few years, we decided we wanted to start a work redraft league. So I then had one league where it's the only thing I cared about. It's the only league I played, to now I had two leagues that they were equally like valuable to me. That was the worst. That first year going, yeah, Antonio Brown scored. Oh, but I'm facing him in the other fucking league. I hated that. That was the worst, getting used to that. But then once you're at like 70 leagues, you're just like, it's like, hey, you have that guy in this roster. I'm like, yeah, but I probably face him here, and I have him here, and you just assume that every single player you either have or face in one league at this point. So
yeah, whenever you start adding the word portfolio to your fantasy football,
diversify.
Oh, you're a degenerate. So.
Yeah, I gave that answer to one of them where they were saying, oh, best ball on that. And I said, best ball, I don't find best balls better for the rookies. I find the people who are playing best ball are the degenerate content creators who want to be able to do 500 drafts in the middle of February. And they're doing best ball because they can draft it and never fucking look at it again. That's the degenerate one, but yeah, fucking just
best ball's degenerate for sure.
Okay, I think we had conflicting answers here. How do you feel about the strategy for an 8-man keeper league? I went the exact opposite. One of you guys said you wanted a depth, I think, but I'm the exact opposite. 8-man shallow league. I'm not like he was kind of asking, do you want to load up on your starters or do you just take the value? This is one league where I'm not taking the value. If I'm starting 10, I'm getting as many elite players at each of my 10 because essentially my bench players don't matter. I can replace them off the waiver wire. I'm just loading up as much firepower in that lineup as I can and hoping they stay healthy, because I've done this where I've done my first ever league was a friends league. It was an 8-team league, just like in the show. And I was doing following all these draft strategies and articles, and I had the deepest team ever. But the funny part was half the team never left my bench. They never played, and I'd get knocked out in the first round or miss the playoffs because I had the deepest team ever. But buddy over here, his starting 10 were studs, and then his bench 10 were fucking garbage. But it didn't matter because only his starting 10 were playing. So
yeah, that's all roster construction league strategy. If you think of it this way, if you're in a team with Christian McCaffrey and there's 80 players that are starting, compared to a league with Christian McCaffrey and you have 140 players that are starting, his impact is so much heavier. So like if you're in an 8-team league, it's massively important. Like his difference making, like you need the Josh Allen, you need McCaffrey, you need all of those guys. So you want to consolidate to get the best possible starting lineup you can, because every team in this league is going to be stacked. Like every team in the league is going to be stacked. So you have to consolidate. Like that's the only chance you have of winning.
Yeah, I agree with this. I think we got the details later. It's 8 keepers as well. So if you got, an 8 teams in the league and 8 keepers, I mean, that's a completely different situation for you. The only other thing that I would add here is you want to make sure that you're looking at rookies earlier. Rookies are going to go earlier in a keeper draft. So really just focus on that. I think he was mentioning the fact that he was going to load up on rookies afterward. I think that's a good strategy, but you want to go young. You can get a few studs like CMC, but you want to make sure you backfill those guys, especially when the older guys age out. Yeah. So a ton of rookies, yes, but make sure you grab them a little bit earlier than you normally would in a keeper draft.
Yeah, because they'll be a little more valuable next year. Yeah, 100%.
Well, yeah, especially in the keeper, because you're not going to be able to acquire those studs later on. It's not like in a normal, like a redraft league where it's like, well, this guy needs bodies, so I can trade his AJ Brown for, a solid RB2 and because he needs to fill out a lineup. You're not going to have that. Nobody's going to want to give up their studs. So
sure.
That's
you basically, if you're out of contention in those keeper leagues, what I do is I'll take my older guys and I will ship them off for the young studs. Like I'll basically treat it as dynasty. Like if you start sucking, just make it happen.
I shortened this novel of a question to value-based drafting dead?
I respect that guy. He put in some serious work with that question.
No, I agree. But so I don't think it's dead at all. So for me, like we said before, I use my sheet, but it basically boils down to a combination of value-based drafting mixed with, like, that's my end thing, is once I've done all my charts and I've got the values and it's compared to the differentials and all that, I then end it with tier-based drafting. So I know, like, because that's my main thing here where, okay, do I want to take this guy? Value in the end isn't the only thing that matters to me, is what I'm saying. Do I want to take, the wide receiver here because he's a value, but that running back over there, he may not be as good a value, but he's the last fucking running back in that tier. I will give up a slight dip in value there because I know it's falling off a goddamn cliff after that happens. So that's why I said I got to mix like my value-based drafting with my tier-based drafting. And in the end, you just got to, like I said, stay water and just, make it up kind of as you go. But that's where your preparation comes in, because then you go in saying, I want to start running back, and shit goes off the rails. The next thing you know, you're in round 5 without a running back. You just have to be able to do enough of these where you know what's going on. Like, it always comes back to me for when I played poker for a living. People are like, oh, well, how aren't you nervous when you're sitting there? It's because I've played so many hands and prepped for so many situations that when I'm sitting at the table, I've likely been in this situation before. So I'm calm and I go, okay, well, that went here. So we go back up plan here, check, and you move on. That's what I do.
Yeah, value-based drafting is interesting because it boosts up the running backs, because this is all projection rate. Like, value-based drafting takes into projection. So, like, my issue with Saquon Barkley third, which is who we brought up, is like, I don't agree with him being the third best running back, because that's basically what they're talking about, the 106, because his projection is far too similar to a lot of guys. So I was like, I don't like that third value.
I use my rankings for when I'm doing my you use your own, right? I don't care.
I do rankings and my own projections to see like where I'm differentiating and where I could find more value, because I know people will boost up these running backs, but like, what's the difference between Saquon or Gibbs or any one of those guys outside the top 3, right? Like, you could make a case. I think I have Saquon at like RB10. So like, for me, there's no way in hell he's the best value like than RB3. So you kind of have to take that in consideration and find the values that work for you and see who you're higher or lower on and integrate it into that, because he was talking strictly value-based drafting. And I was like, I don't agree with that, because like, I know we like value-based drafting. We talk about war and all that stuff, but you have to use your own players that you like, because it's not going to be the same at the end of the season as at the beginning of the season, just because it's projections. They're wrong.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this one? Got an overvalued player in Dynasty you want to ship out? Lamar was a good one. I think I'm always looking to go ahead.
Sorry, who'd you have?
No, I said Lamar. I'm always looking to move on from the running quarterbacks of running back. Yeah, it's essentially it. But I'm looking to move on from those guys. The second what's Lamar? 5-6 years in? We're getting close to where I think he creeps towards 30. That running quarterback age cliff is going to hit. So he, like we said earlier, I take Dak. So, but sorry, go ahead.
Well, Dak is the one for me. I mean, he's heavily boosted because they faced nobody in the back half of the year. I think he finished his QB3 on the season because he was absolutely chucking it. I mean, the one thing they have in their favor is the fact that they don't have a running game over there in Dallas. So he's going to be chucking it once again. But the schedule was so favorable. I'd be looking to move off of Dak this season.
For me, it's Laporta. Like, he has a massive tier group. Yeah, I fucking disagree with Puka wholeheartedly.
No,
like,
Kyron,
I so disagree with Puka. But no, for
Kyron
Laporta,
was my answer. Yeah, it's Kyron. He's way overvalued.
Kyron's a good one.
Like, I have Kyron at like RB 11, 12. Like, he's in that range. Like, I don't mind. It's a risky bet. But I think Laporta's the one. He's going rounds above everybody other tight end. And I'm like, why? Why is this guy in round 2 when Kincaid and like Pitts and all these guys around 4, 5, and 6? I'm like, he should be grouped together with that group. Like, he's like 30 spots above McBride, and I'm like, this makes no sense to me. So like, I don't think Laporta can gain any more value is my biggest issue. So if there's a guy that I think is at max value, I want to sell him. So if I want to tear down from Laporta to get a plus on any one of those guys, like, that's the move I make to do that, because I think that's as easy as possible you can make. So for me, it's Laporta. I think he's a stud, but I just don't agree with his ADP at all.
Yeah. ETN's another good one. I think he's probably got a year or two left for sure. They don't have anybody in there. I don't believe Tank Bigsby is going to command a massive workload, but they're going to bring somebody in if Bigsby doesn't work out next year, and they're really going to solidify that. So for me, this is the last year that you're going to be able to get premium value on ETN before I believe he falls off a cliff. So I'm moving him.
Stroud's the other guy. Like, he's overvalued for me too.
I totally disagree.
I love Stroud.
I know you guys do. That's why I said it.
QB1. QB1. Let's go.
Whoa.
Do you have any shares of Stroud I may acquire from you, good sir?
I have like 2. I think I have 2.
Am I in that league? Please send an offer.
I would happily send an offer if I could. I do not have those leagues.
As a caveat, Stroud is not my QB1. He is my QB2. So
he's my QB1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't yeah. It's a whole thing. We can get a tangent on it, but yeah.
What are ideal IDP roster setups and scoring settings? I like to break these down as much as possible. Like, I don't just go DL, linebacker, DB. I like to break it down. We have cornerback, safety, like strict positional to have a little bit of everything. So you can't just line up on edge rush or load up on edge rushers. You have to have some lineman, some edge. But then the other thing for me, I like to try and boost the interception value to try and boost defensive back scoring, because essentially in most standard scoring, defensive lineman is what you want. Linebackers are kind of in the middle, and then DBs you just punt. So in the end, that's what I try to do. I'm trying to balance it because I want everything to be as balanced as possible. Benefit with Stroud is a great arm and rushing upside.
That's the thing. The rushing isn't there.
What's
like,
up?
He's not going to be a 25 per game guy. So like I was just like, I don't know. But I think with your point on IDP, if you can even out the scoring to make DBs more impactful, I would love that. I just hate personally in every IDP league, the scoring's been different in every single IDP league I've ever been in, and it drives me bonkers. They're all individual. So like personally, I like the 1-2-3 IDP. I think it's the most balanced scoring where it evens it out, but it scares people because of how highly valued those defensive players score in that settings. But I personally like it.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying because in IDP leagues, it's the outside corners who are losing value, right? Those nickel corners are good. Obviously, safeties are fine at DB, and it's the interior defensive linemen who lose that value. So I don't know that you can do anything to get those IDLs boost the value up. I think they're probably just dead. But like you're saying, Aaron, if you're going, past breakups maybe, and if you're boosting interceptions a little bit, then you can elevate the outside corner value and get like the AJ Terrells or the Bradburys or I don't even know who the top outside corners are now because I don't draft them.
Thank you. That's the other one I mentioned that I forgot was the pass breakups. That helps to balance out the defensive back scoring a bit because essentially they're useless. You can just draft them in the last round and nobody cares. But
and replace them.
They should just look up that scoring setting and see if they like it because that's the closest I've seen I've ever seen to it.
The problem is most IDP leagues are like when you're like your first IDP league, unless you're in a league with sickos, it's like the first time you get your work friends to convert into a dynasty league. They all want basic settings because none of them really know what the hell they're doing. So a lot of these, it's tough. You got to kind of start with basic settings and then just improvise from year to year as people get more comfortable. Because I've tried to implement even, linebacker, all these different positions and different things in leagues, and it's a nightmare trying to get people to do it.
Yeah, that was we had IDP in my home league for a couple of years, and we finally disbanded it because they didn't want to change the scoring setting, but they also hated the IDP. And I was like, all right, there is a fix for this. Let's fix the scoring system. And people didn't want to do it. So like people were just pointless. 1 through 20 really didn't matter in certain positions. So it was like TJ Watt and Parsons were the two impactful guys. That was it. And we're like, all right, we're just gonna nuke this league because people don't want to change the settings.
Yeah. IDP is really a degenerate format, so you have to know what's up. You have to be watching the game. You have to be into all the players on both sides of the ball. So
don't you dare say that Foye Oluokun is not an impact player. Don't you ever fucking say that again. Don't you ever not include him in a list again.
Linebacker machine. All right, let me see.
Non-obvious player besides like Anthony Richardson, you're higher on this year than others in the industry, and why?
I don't remember who I said.
Did we both go Bengals here? I went all Bengals, I think.
Did we say Zach
Did I
Moss?
even answer this question? I don't even know.
Yeah, we answered it. I think I went all Bengals because everyone, with the exception of Jamar Chase, everyone is out on every Bengal. Moss. Because I told you this after. I got Burrow as my QB2 in the middle of the second round of a super flex draft. After Dak, after Kyler, after Jaden Daniels. Why is Burrow going that far? Yeah. SC's higher on Troy Franklin, higher than consensus. He's not higher than me on Troy Franklin. So fuck you, SC. What do you guys think?
I don't know. Who did I say? Who did I even say? I can give you some answers, but I don't know who I said.
I'll give you based on expert consensus. Here's the guys I am super high on that I'm 30 spots above on. Trey McBride plus 35 spots on. Terry McLaurin plus 30 spots on. Deontay Johnson plus 46. Romo Dunze plus 40. Xavier Worthy plus 42. Jonathan Brooks plus 67. Suck it, people. I love Jonathan Brooks.
Deontay's a great one. Drake London. Dynasty is my wide receiver 8 in redraft. I'm not going to I think, Jesse, you're a little higher than me. I think he's your wide receiver 7 in Dynasty. Drake London's an absolute monster. He's going to go bonkers this year. That's my big one. Zach Moss is criminally undervalued. Even if it's a 50-50 split, and it won't be. I mean, that's a high-powered offense. They're going to be in scoring position. If you think Chase Brown is getting the goal line over Zach Moss, you are sorely mistaken. I mean, Moss is going to eat this year if he stays healthy. And then let's see, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, the tight end 2 last season, and all they did is add Brian Thomas Jr. to that offense, which is only going to help open up the offense. Evan Ingram was the tight end 2. He's going off the board like the tight end 11. It's stupid value on Evan Ingram. Go get him.
You guys skipped this question. Neither of you answered. Me and SC. SC answered one part. I answered the other. That's why.
Yeah, my answer is Romanuzzi and Jonathan Brooks. Those are the guys.
I like ETN, but the problem is I've seen a lot of drafts where ETN, everyone else is higher on ETN, and he's going way too high.
Their line was historically bad last year. So if they improve the line, yes. But I saw a question where it's like, why is Saquon Barkley above ETN? And I'm like, because he's going to a better offensive line. I think he's a better player. So I think they're similar in range. But yeah, the Jags need to fix the offensive line because ETN was going against basically the Browns front seven every week with the like basically yards before contact. It was awful. He couldn't do anything. So they need to improve that if he wants to improve this year.
Yeah, well, like I said, for me, it's ETN's just going way over at this point right now.
But here's the other thing. Jacksonville next year has an extra third and an extra fourth round pick at the moment in next year's draft. If you think they're not drafting one or two running backs next year, you are sorely mistaken. I mean, there's going to be a lot more competition there in Jacksonville for ETN. You can ride him this year, but after that, forget it.
Yeah, they brought in the guy from the Texas backup, the rookie. I can't remember his name, but I think he's going to be the backup. I don't like who they have there besides ETN.
Keelan
Robinson.
Yeah.
So the next one was Justin Herbert passing yard projection end of year ranking. SC said it's way different here. SC went under 4,500 yards and something like QB 15 or 16. I said I have him at 4,600 yards and I have him as QB 7 or 8. So me and SC seem way apart on this one.
Yeah, Herbert's interesting. I have Herbert at like QB 15. I have him under 4,500 passing yards. Like I don't have him near that.
So I'm the high one on Herbert.
Yeah, I think I have him closer to 4,000 passing yards. I'm worried about him this year.
Yeah, I'm going to be under 2. I mean, who's wide receiver 2? Palmer, QJ. I mean, those guys are largely unproven, and that's assuming
QJ's wide receiver 1.
Yeah, well, maybe. Right? But the fact that this conversation means that he's not hitting that 4,500 yard mark, I think he's going to be closer to 42, 42.50. Maybe even 41. And if that's the case, look, they don't have anybody to run the ball, but I just think this offense is going to struggle in year 1. And
just shade to Kamani Vidal. Come on.
Yeah, there's shade to Kamani Vidal. There's plenty of shade. Yeah. This team's going to suck, by the way. This team is going to be awful.
Okay. We talked about this earlier, and I was trying to figure out. Okay, so we're gonna go with the same format we did last year. So,
wait, you got to put up SC. So.
Oh Jesus, do I want to? Good God! All right, so last year we did what? It was Monday was our recap show. Tuesday was waiver wire. I couldn't remember what we did Wednesday, but Thursday, Friday was AFC and NFC home games. Yeah. Saturdays we were typically off unless we had like a stream show, and then Sunday we did live sit start. What did we do Wednesday? That's the only one I can't remember what we did Wednesday.
I do like Gus.
I actually like Gus Bus and Kamani. I think they're both values. Like you can get Kamani for free, and you just take Gus in like the 9th round. Like just sign me up. They're gonna run the ball.
I took J.K. Dobbins in our most recent startup. I think in the 14th round. If it happens,
right?
If it happens. That's a value. If not, I'll cut him. That's fine.
Right. Somebody's going to run the ball there. Somebody is for sure.
It's only those 3 guys.
Exactly. I'm trying to think. I don't remember what we did on Wednesdays. I think we might have taken it off.
I'm looking right now. We had 5 shows a week. We went game recap, waiver wire, NFC or AFC preview, sit start. So it looks like we were off Wednesday or Wednesday and Saturday. And sometimes we streamed on Wednesdays if something happened. But
yeah,
well, whatever. We'll have content out daily. Just like we're doing in the off season, so don't worry about it.
Wednesday, watch SC.
That's the Wednesday.
Perfect.
Got it.
SC's punching in. Let's go.
Okay, only 2 questions left. How do you feel about leagues eliminating DST and kickers? Everybody else loves it. I fucking hate it. Anything?
Get out.
I'm sorry. I want the degenerate leagues because when I go into my leagues that don't or that have DST and kickers, everybody else is just they have no fucking clue what they're doing. So I get an advantage. Mm-hmm. I can sit there and I follow my column where I was like 90% accurate last year for streaming a defense and kicker. I can use no draft capital on defense and kicker and still have a top of the league defense and kicker all year long. Why would I not want that? Why would I not want free points to slanted towards me? So my answer to this is if you know your shit and you do your research or are at least smart enough to come read my article, play with DST and kicker.
But yeah, we use Aaron as a cheat code for doing that. Look at his wall. Look what's on his wall right now. Top 5. What do you think that's for back there? Of course, my man likes it. He likes that. Like, yeah, that's where he specializes in. So yeah, if you're asking for questions, like I would ask him questions because
well, I did say, and my comment is underappreciated, so I'm just gonna say it again, just because I feel like it. As long as we find a place for Balake Group A, or however you pronounce his last name, Group AA Ron. Then I'm okay with getting rid of all other kickers. Plus, that's your boy.
Last question. Yeah. Who's everyone's favorite last round pick?
I already mentioned him.
Vidal?
Come on, Vidal. Do it, baby. Him and Tyrone Tracy. Those are my two guys. Like, last round, throwing a dart on him.
What are you talking about? In rookie drafts or in?
No, in just like round 16, my like last pick of the drafts, basically. I'll find
Troy Franklin.
Guys. Yeah, like I'm basically taking a dart on rookies I think could hit. So, like, I'll go those guys.
There was a running back, but I can't remember who it was. Who was my running back when we did this? We each posted a tweet on it.
Last round. All right.
You got Vidal, right?
I'll be up there.
Who was your
Rasheen Ali? I like Rasheen Ali's prospects. I don't think Mitchell's going to be ready for the start of the season. Go Rasheen Ali.
Just a second. I'm trying to see because we each had one. For the love of
your response on Reddit, it's not. There's not a person listed in there.
So. No. But when we did this, like a month ago, where we created a TikTok for each of our players, and I can't remember. I feel like I took Kamani Vidal and you stole my guy, but
I probably can't remember who it was. I'll take Tyrone Tracy. That's fine. I don't remember who. My memory sucks, so it's very possible.
I don't. But that's the problem. I'm sitting there and going, Kamani Vidal feels like. I'm like, Vidal feels like my guy, but I'm like, I think he stole my fucking guy. Let me see. I'm trying to bring up.
Just give me Tracy. That's fine. I'll take Tyrone Tracy.
No, because there was another one. I can't remember. I'm trying to find it. One second.
Is it on TikTok or Twitter?
It's on TikTok. One second. I'm looking for because we created those graphics with the clouds and all that.
The rookies you're talking about?
Yeah. Okay, so Jesse
mine was Bucky Irving.
Jesse had Bucky Irving. Come on,
it was Ricky Pearsall. Hold on. It was Ricky Pearsall, and Aaron didn't want to change the goddamn color, so I got stuck with Bucky.
That's
it's pre-draft.
Fucking steals my guy and then blames it on me. Dirty rat bastard.
All right. Yeah, so like in redraft, I'll take a shot on Vidal and Tracy. Like I think those guys are fine late round targets.
And Rasheen Ali.
Good answer.
In one QB,
what did he say? Oh, darn almighty.
In one QB, I want Bryce Young or Will Levis. I want to take a shot on one of those high upside guys who we don't totally know what they are, and they built around them this year. It's possible they could pop, maybe not. But you'll know right away. You want a guy that you're going to want to know right away instead of holding on to him in your last round for weeks and weeks and weeks. We're going to know right away after week 2 if Will Levis or Bryce Young have it.
Yeah, I think Jesus Christ, he's stuck in my brain. Jaleel McLaughlin is another good bet. Like these guys and the situations are good. I think. And where's his name? Kendra Miller. Those are the two other running backs that are going really late that you can get last. Like you take a shot and see if it hits. If not, you can drop them for the guy that hits.
Zach Moss. Zach Moss is the answer.
Zach Moss. By the time we get to August, Zach Moss is going to be going in round 6.
Oh,
God. Be going in round 4.
Maybe. I hate that. I hate that. Don't do it.
Running back on the Seattle Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals. Anaya Smith, isn't he going to miss the beginning of the season with a broken foot?
Yeah, something like that.
And he's on the Eagles, is he not? Buried behind like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they need a slot. Will Shipley season. Let's go.
Oh God! If that happens, Saquon, it's rough for Saquon.
If you don't think Will Shipley is better than Paris Campbell in the slot, you're sorely mistaken. So.
The ghost of Paris Campbell still lives on.
I don't even know what to say to that. You're a sick son of a bitch. All right, let's see what this last comment is. Love Anaya Smith. Well, fuck you, SC. All right, and on that lovely note, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for answering questions in the chat, SC, despite the fact that I said fuck you. Check back. I'm not sure what we're doing tomorrow. I know we've got Sunday at, I believe, 2 p.m. Eastern. We are doing a redraft 10-round mock draft. I think it's just single QB, nothing too fancy. It's one for all those home leagues where it's nothing fancy, the basics, but at some point during the chat, to everyone who likes, subscribes, and comments their name, we're going to enter you into a duck race, and the winner will get a spot in Scott Fish Bowl 14. Yeah. Thanks to Scott Fish, Russ Fisher, John Bosch and Ryan McDowell and Fantasy Care. So check back for that on Sunday. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care, and we'll see you next time.